let's look at a specific problem space and a specific problem that we can look within it. And we've seen this before. The problem space that we're going to look at is retail, and the variable that we will be looking at, the number that we will predict, is sales. So to do this, what therefore must we do? So now, what is the objective of the problem? The objective of the problem is first to understand sales. But understand sales of what? Sales depends on what it is that you are selling. So let's set a context for that. Let's say that we consider an online retailer of mobiles and tablet computers. Therefore, the problem space that we will be looking at involves variables concerning the sales and concerning customer behavior of mobiles and tablet computers. Now, for this, it's crucial to stay ahead of market trends and customer preferences. Why? Because sales depends on these things. It depends on what is happening in the market. For example, competitive behavior, technological advancements, and are there variables to capture such things? And consumer preferences. Do they like my product? Is my cell phone configured correctly? Should it be larger? Should it be smaller? Is my tablet PC having the right features within it or right operating systems and things like that? These are things that are customer preferences. They are also variables. There are variables within my problem space that will help me predict sales. Why am I predicting sales? I presume there's a business reason for it. One good business reason for it is that we want to maximize sales. That's a reasonably obvious business problem that all companies have, that we have a product and we want to maximize its sales or at least optimize it to certain business targets. Now, there's a back end to this problem as well, should you care about the back end, which is to say that let's imagine that we have an ideal strategy to maximize sales, but can we execute on that? Can we manage the inventory necessary to get to that sales level? Because you may say that I have a well-designed phone, but if I cannot manufacture it efficiently, then I will not be able to get to the sales that the market in some way is capable of supporting for me. The same kind of thing applies to the other end of, shall we say, the business channel, not manufacturing, but marketing. And for marketing, the challenge is that we know that if we spend a substantial amount of money on marketing, we in the sense of most businesses, then we will be able to maximize sales. However, that's going to cost us. And we need to be able to get some balance around that to attract and retain customers using an optimal marketing effort. So from a business perspective, you can now see what this implies, what the different aspects of the problem space might be, even to solve a specific sales problem. So we have now arrived at an interesting point in our story. Our objective is to maximize sales. But we're going to split this problem into two different objectives. And I'll tell you a little later why we are doing this. The first objective is to be able to forecast sales to make informed decisions. If I know that this is what sales is going to be, then I can establish a target. I can set up my business processes to go towards that target. I can have a quarterly plan. I can have an annual plan. That's a clear business purpose. But the second is equally important, to identify the key levers that can influence sales. Why? Well, your objective is to maximize sales, but you simply can't go to people and say, buy my product. A customer buying things is not entirely within the business's control. What is within the business's control? For example, a price might be within the business's control. A level of inventory might be within the business's control. The amount of money spent on marketing may be within the business's control. These are things the business can change. They are levers. So now the question becomes, what are the levers that we can change so that sales can then be lifted, ideally increased. Why are these two things regression problems? In the first case, what we do is say, if you give me input variables, if you give me the state of market trends and customer preferences, I can put that into an algorithm and I can give you a sales forecast. In other words, the ability to go from input to output is used to predict the output using inputs. In the second case, it's a little different. It says that if you give me a relationship between the output and the input, which is sales and all these variables, I can use that relationship to determine which inputs are key. I'm not interested in forecasting. I'm interested in understanding the nature of that relationship. And using the nature of that relationship, I can now say that these are the key levers because they are influencing my output more. Therefore, if I want to impact sales, these are the variables that I need to really go after and then change within my capacity to change them. These are the two main objectives of regression analysis. We shall be looking at aspects of both of these two so that we can see how businesses can use them either to forecast or to influence the outcome. Now, in this particular state of affairs, what is it that I want to be able to function well? What is it that I need to be able to do well? What is my desired state? So a desired state may be, from a forecasting perspective, let's look at the right here, to develop a sales forecasting mechanism to estimate revenue for the next 6 months. As we had said for the forecasting problem, give me a mechanism, give me an algorithm, give me a software program, give me a spreadsheet where if I put certain numbers in, I will get a forecast out. The second, which is more on the key drivers side, 1 unit increase in marketing spend will result in 20 units increase in iPhone sales. Do not give me a forecast, but give me a business action for a particular input. In this case, that particular input could be marketing spend. And I know what will happen if I have a 1 unit increase in marketing spending. 1 unit could be my choice of how I define units. It could be maybe $1,000 or a corresponding spend in another currency. Similarly, units could be with respect to, say, single phones or whatever be the sales bundle that you are looking at. So take a look and try to internalize the difference between these two problems. The first doesn't particularly care what the inputs are and how we're using them to develop the forecast, but I do want the model to work in the future. I need the model to work outside the data set. I need it to work in situations which may be a little different from what it is now. In the second case, I'm not so bothered about forecasting how much sales I have, but I need to link it to a particular X that I have within my control. How should I vary it? I need to quantify the effect that an input will have on its output. So this is where I want to be. This will lead to questions. How do we predict the number of units? What are the factors that affect the sales of iPhones? These questions are now broader questions that my regression model will need to be able to answer. Once we do this, we can now solve different kinds of problems. And to close the loop now, what are the problems that we would be able to solve? One, we'll be able to get at better estimates of sales or predictions of sales or get more accomplishable and meaningful sales targets. This is the forecasting problem. The second, the key drivers problem we'll be able to solve, which is to say that how much should we allocate to marketing? Because remember, now our regression problem is trying to head towards saying, if I spend so much in marketing, I will get so much lift in sales. So this will solve the problem of saying, how much should I allocate to marketing given my sales target? This exercise of linking what your current state is to a desired state is very, very important to understand what the outcome of the regression would be. Very often businesses go at it from left to right, saying, if this is my current state, what can we do and what data do we need to get to the desired state? Many businesses go from right to left, which means they say, if this is the desired state, what data and how much time and expenditure do I need to spend on the analytics and on the model building exercise so that I can get away from my current state? Either way is okay and depends on the style of the organization and the way data management is executed within it. But within a single kind of modeling, both of these kinds of problems can be solved.